Great, Asma. Yes, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I open this webinar organized by the one and only Global Bus Foundation. Our topics today are crucial to the development of education around the world. With whatever is happening in the world, distance learning is becoming prominent. Classroom management has never been more relevant than today, and learners' autonomy is becoming more and more worthy of our concern. Today, I will be your moderator. My name is Asmae Abu Lfaraj. I am a master's student in Applied Linguistics and English Language Teaching at the Faculty of Education in Rabat. I am also a certified teacher and a young leader at GBF. Our second moderator is Ms. Islam Al-Kassimi, who is going to moderate the second half of the event. Ms. Islam is a doctoral student and a teacher of English. She's also a GBF Young Leader and Project Manager. Thank you for joining us today. Before we move to our first speaker, I would like to remind you that Global Bus Foundation is a Moroccan NGO, which goal is to empower and help people all over the world to grow, give, and flourish, both personally and professionally. With its great leaders who strive for high performance, it offers great opportunities for growth, success, and leadership. Its purpose is also to help people, notably teachers from all over the world, by organizing various courses, webinars, seminars, and conferences. In order to learn more about our TEFL training, please visit our Facebook page and Mr. Al-Hussein's YouTube channel. Before we start, I'd like to inform you all that we have an announcement to make. Celebrating the new year 2021, Global Bus Foundation team is organizing the second edition of its highly requested English language teaching program, alongside other programs for youth and students. With the increase of interest in the English language teaching and learning, we have prepared a series of webinars that aim to further the educational discussion within the field. Our main objective here is to facilitate heated discussions and provide inspiration to create a high quality platform that will help us contribute to the future of teaching and education by bringing together leading scholars, academics, and researchers in the field from all over the world. Therefore, by the end of this webinar, we will post more information about the program. Please, if you'd like to participate, you have to do only small tasks. First, like our Facebook page. Second, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And third, fill in the form that will be posted later on. So today's special webinar is one of its kind. We have brought together interesting people from interesting countries with interesting backgrounds. Today, our first speaker will be Ms. Sibel Sezer. Our second speaker, first of all, the first speaker is from Turkey. The second speaker is Mr. Hossein Fendou, who is from Algeria. Then our third speaker will be Mr. Rahal Jbilo from Morocco. And finally, Ms. Rania Lampo, and I didn't write the country. Could you please say which country you're from?
Greece.
Greece, yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So first, let us all welcome Ms. Sibel Sezer, who is an English teacher from Izmir, Turkey. She's been teaching at Dokuz Eylül University Prep School since 1999. Before that, she worked as an instructor at different institutions, including different language courses, as well as the Turkish Ministry of Education schools and the Turkish Air Force Language School. She has taught learners from different backgrounds, different age groups, and language levels. And today she will be talking to us about learners' autonomy and distance learning. Aren't you all excited for whatever presentation she is going to deliver? Well, I certainly am. So let's just move to our first speaker. Ms. Sibel, I give you the floor for your presentation.
Thank you very much. Good
You're
evening,
welcome.
everyone. Hello from Turkey, Izmir. It's a rainy day, actually night. It's 10 o'clock p.m. in Turkey. I'm so happy to be part of such an event. Thank you again, Global Bus and Mr. Saint Kasserat. I'd like to start my presentation. I think I have the right, I guess. Okay. All right. So can you see my presentation?
Yes, please make it full screen.
Yeah, I am doing it. All right. So some people call it learner autonomy, and I prefer to call it liberating the learner. In my presentation, I'll go over 4 different points that are why do we have learner autonomy? Why should we have learner autonomy? And then I'll continue with the characteristics of independent learners, and then continue with the advantages, benefits of liberating the learner. And finally, I'll humbly give you some things to foster learner autonomy as language teachers, I mean. So I'd like to start my slides with a question, actually. I'd like to ask the audience, why do we need to liberate the learner as language teachers? Can you share your opinions in the Facebook maybe? Huh, Hussein? Is it all right? Is it possible?
Yes, I'm going to wait for their answers.
And in the Zoom, we don't have any, other people except us, do we?
No, just the speakers.
Okay, all right. So maybe you can just pass me the answers, some of the answers at least. So anybody wrote anything about that? In general,
could you please?
Shall I repeat?
Yes, repeat.
Why do we need to liberate the learner? Why do we need the learner autonomy? What do people think about that?
People.
In general, Hussein's sessions, people have, we have people in the Zoom, so I thought we would have some people in the Zoom. So I prepared some questions. Then anyway, I can skip the questions if it's all right with you guys. Hussein, is it all right if I skip the questions?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Then I'll continue my presentation. Yeah?
Right. Thank you.
Okay. All right, okay. So as Asmae pointed out, over the past few decades, autonomous learning has been considered very crucial for several reasons. To begin with, developing learner independence has an important role in the theory and practice of oops, yes, language teaching, right? Language learning is a lifelong effort that does not begin and end in a language classroom. It takes a considerable amount of time. Learners have to work within and beyond the classroom to develop their language skills. So this was the very first one. And secondly, helping students to become more effective and independent learners is an educational goal for teachers. And thirdly, the focus of language education shifted from a teacher-centered approach to a learner-centered one, particularly when there is easy access to multimedia resources to help learners learn independently outside the classroom. And last but not least, autonomy enhances learners' intrinsic motivation, and which is the basic factor for learning to take place, as we all know. Various approaches, methods, and techniques have been introduced in the field of ELT to improve the English language teaching and learning situation within and outside the classroom. The notion of learner independence or learner autonomy moves into an area where learners can direct their own learning. This, in turn, facilitates the learner to become more efficient and effective when they study independently on their own, I mean. Learner independence demands learner involvement, and such involvement may lead to a deeper and better learning. So the fostering of learner independence may start in a classroom environment and extend beyond it. And learner autonomy has three components. The very first one is sense of responsibility and engagement in learning activities, and finally, perceived ability of the learners. And I'll continue with the characteristics, qualities of autonomous learners. Autonomous learners take the ownership for their own learning by doing different things. I'll give some examples. For example, they are open to change, they are willing to take risks, and they are highly motivated, and they have goals, desires, and aspirations, and they show effort. As you can see, these are basic life skills we're all supposed to have. Let's continue with some qualities about language learning. Independent learners are also good at directing their own learning, setting learning goals, following strategies formed by themselves, enjoying the learning activities, monitoring their progress, assessing their progress and acquisition. And I'll continue by taking an active approach to the learning tasks. They are eager.
You have a problem?
Pardon
Yeah?
me, can't you hear me? Hello?
I can hear you.
Huh. Oh, no problem. Yeah. Shall I continue?
Yes,
You say?
please.
Oh, all right. Okay. So let's go on going over some qualities of independent learners about their language learning. They take an active approach to the learning tasks. and they are eager and attentive to the task at hand, and they explore their strengths and weaknesses in language learning, and they identify relevant resources and support, okay, to correct their weaknesses maybe, and to make their strengths more, stronger. Okay, let's go on with the advantages of learner autonomy. Many learners like the comfort of a traditional lecture. They listen quietly and they believe they are acquiring knowledge. But studies show that this knowledge often lasts for a very short time, or students learn it partially. And no school or even university can provide its students with all the knowledge and the skills they will need in their active adult lives. This is what I believe. And it is more important for young people to understand not only themselves, but also the world. And they need to learn how to think and how to learn. Learner autonomy prepares learners for lifelong learning, right? These are all buzzwords, as you know, right? Awareness of the word, lifelong learning. Okay, so it is essential to explain the learners the importance of owning their learning. So here comes the teacher's role. But before that, let me just remind you, learner autonomy develops self-esteem and self-respect, and as a result, this is what I like best, respect for others. So I'll continue with the teacher's role, okay? So when people hear the phrase learner autonomy or liberating the learner, they may think there will be no teachers. No, autonomy is not self-instruction or learning without a teacher. The teacher presence is still required, and the teacher plays an important role in the autonomous classroom. If, as teachers, we are to succeed in promoting learner autonomy, we need to understand and consider how our learners perceive autonomous learning and their responsibilities in learning. Therefore, it is very important for teachers to become aware of their own and their learners' beliefs and attitudes when they're attempting to promote learner autonomy. Teachers still need to create activities, interesting and engaging activities. And encouragement is very important to trigger students' motivation. And providing guidance is another indispensable teacher characteristic in liberating the learner. Teachers, for example, checking the framework and offering advice while learners work independently or in groups is still necessary. With the development of technology, learners and also teachers can easily reach any kind of materials, books from multiple resources. Computers, even mobile phones can be used to read something by just connecting to the internet. So if you know the right websites and if you have access, it takes just a couple of seconds to reach a book written, for example, 40 years ago, even 100 years ago, maybe. So the teacher's role as a facilitator, this is another buzzword, I'm sure you all know, is to introduce the learners to netiquette, right, and digital literacy. These two I give a lot of importance. Our students are mostly digital natives today, but they're not as tech savvy as we think they are. Teachers should model how to filter what is on the net and how to act while surfing on the net. So in order to liberate our learners, we as teachers can do lots of things. For example, we can focus on learning rather than teaching. This is what I believe. I have believed actually since the very first days of my teaching. There's no teaching actually. There's always learning. We should facilitate and support the learners rather than taking the whole responsibility of the learning. And we should raise their awareness of autonomous learning. I know this is not very easy, but we should do that so that they can go on their own ways safely and with confidence. And if they may have some attitude about learning or autonomous learning, our role is to change their attitudes about that. And in general, we should see problems as challenges to be handled together with the learners. And lots of things we can do. I'll continue. We should persuade the learners that they are capable of taking over responsibility for their own learning and motivate them, feel secure by using the knowledge they bring to the classroom, their knowledge about themselves, about learning, and about communication, their world knowledge, as well as their knowledge about the target language. So, and we should make them feel respected and accepted as individuals in the social process of learning. Show them that their views as well as their existing knowledge are important factors in the learning environment. We should keep them and their parents as well fully informed as regards what we do as a teacher and why we do it, what we expect from learners as well as parents, because they are the shareholders as well. And we should explain teacher and student roles clearly from the very beginning. That's a key, I think. And we should make that clear to them what is demanded and expected of them and why. And here comes another word. Okay, we should set SMART goals for the learners. That is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and timely, so that they don't feel intimidated about learner autonomy or owning their own learning. And we should give them choice and let them make decisions. Let them set up individual goals within given guidelines, guided goals, we can say. And we should encourage students to set their own tasks, even rewards maybe. And we should, all of them, sorry. We should demonstrate learning tasks with concrete examples so that they can learn and understand very well what to do and how to do it. So we should model it. And inform them about the netiquette, as I said before, and digital literacy. And this is another one that is familiar, right? We should increase learner talking time and reduce teacher talking time. So following these, so Good news, we're not going anywhere as teachers. No robots are coming, no AI, okay? So, I mean, we're still here, as you can see. Let me give you some examples, okay, of what we can do to liberate the learners. You can instruct the students on how to use the school resources in the school library or language lab, because this is quite liberating. And this is not something new. This is something we already, have done, right? So, for example, in the first week of the term, I usually take my students to the library and the language lab. Actually, I take them around the school and let them see what is what. And we should teach them how to use dictionaries, reference books, and the internet. Okay, these are their wings. They're going to fly using these things. So this is also important. And so by providing them these, and then we can give them collaborative projects outside the classroom. For example, a reading project about a book they choose, or a presentation about their favorite place in town, maybe an online newspaper project, right? So
Sorry to interrupt you.
10 minutes do I have?
Well, I texted you 5 minutes ago. I don't know if you
Oh,
got it,
okay, how
but
much?
you still have 5 to 10 minutes left.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you.
You're
All right.
welcome.
All right, so let me go on then. So we can get students to keep track of their own learning experience in logbooks and portfolios. Again, these are the things we have been doing, so nothing new, right? And we can provide various forms of reflection activities, right? Another buzzword is reflection, such as language checklists with can-do statements and self and peer assessment worksheets or activities. And we can integrate self-evaluation of the teaching learning process in every lesson. For example, like KWL charts or checklists about the steps of the activity. For example, a writing activity. Have I written the title? Have I written the thesis statement? Something like that. We can even, have the students, I'm sorry, I'm coming back. Yes, have the students design lesson materials and quizzes and use them. Right. Okay, let me go on. Another thing we can do, provide opportunities for interactive assessment for learning and turn the students into active learners by giving homework. Homework is a must. And language checklists, quizzes, self-tests that they can do in their own pace. And we can use the elements of gamification, right? So we should define a goal they will accomplish and then use some game techniques to help them achieve this goal. And we should include some elements like leaderboards, avatars, points, etc., etc. And we should give the students non-lesson classroom duties to perform, such as taking attendance, for example, or writing instructions. And we can set up student councils. A student council is a curricular or extracurricular activity for students. And they often serve to engage students in learning about, for example, democracy, leadership, right? 21st century skills, you know. And we can encourage the idea of classroom contracts. It's an agreement made between learners and the teacher to follow certain rules and standards, and it applies to both the learners and the teacher. I always do that in the very first week of the semester, and it works really, really well. And we should make use of peer teaching, such as peer editing or peer correction. And finally, I'm finishing up. You will need three things. You know what they are? Patience, patience, and patience. Developing autonomy and liberating the learner takes time. Okay, this is the recipe, and depends on your persistence. Don't give up. Your learners may take time to get accustomed to their changing roles, and it would be unrealistic to expect them to take full responsibility of their language learning from day one. So by respecting your students and their backgrounds, you will together find the best way towards learner autonomy. Thank you for listening, everyone.
Well, thank you so much, Ms. Sibel, for this amazing, informative, and very interesting presentation. The audience is interacting very well on our Facebook
I'm
page.
so glad. I'm so glad
Well,
about that.
there are some of the questions. Yes. So the first question by Yasin, he said, don't you think using podcasts will serve comprehensible input and
Definitely.
listening?
Definitely,
So,
yes. Yes. This is
yeah,
something
so
I forgot, I think.
very interesting. He
Yeah.
said that people would find it interesting to see personalized topics in order to make independent learning.
Yeah. Podcasts are racing with YouTube, and they're, I think, going forward. They are very topical these days. I work in a university, but they come to our school after they finish high school. So they follow what is new, and I learn lots of things from them. I also listen to podcasts. I think they rock. I like them. Yeah. Any other questions?
Yes, I just received one right now
All
from
right.
Mohammed. He said, is integrating learners in designing and setting smart goals, building the lesson together with their teacher, as well as assessing the course, a good idea?
Definitely, yes. Congratulations saying such a thing. Well, actually, it depends on the culture. For some cultures, it would be a bit slow, I think, because in some cultures, learning actually is teacher-centered, right? So it
Yes.
will take some time, but I think we can do it. Yes, I like his idea also. Thank you.
Yes, and the last question, he said, what did you mean by perceived quality?
I didn't say perceived quality. I said something else. This is what they think about themselves and what other people perceive them as. Right.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Sibel.
You're welcome. I thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Hussein. Thank you.
Yes, and
So shall I mute myself now? Mute? Unmute?
excuse me? Yes, you can mute yourself.
All
Yes.
right. Thank you. Good luck,
Yes.
people.
Thank you so much. Indeed, learners' autonomy or learners' liberation is very important, especially in these times where the world is very chaotic. Also, I think now we should move to our second speaker, who is a teacher dear to our hearts, Mr. Hossein Fendou, who is also a certified teacher trainer. He taught in primary school, middle school, and high school since 1992. He recently got his TEFL certificate from Global Bus Foundation in collaboration with the COSO Academy and the Canadian Academy. He also participated in many workshops, conferences, and webinars, some of which are Global Bus Foundation's webinars. Please check them out in our Facebook page. Let's all give a round of applause to Mr. Fendo. Yes, Mr.
Thank you very
Fendo, go
much.
ahead.
Thank you very much, Asma. I appreciate your words. And first, I would like to share my screen first. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay,
Please do.
great. Just a minute. Okay. I'll make it a full screen. Great. So first, I would like to greet my colleagues who are present with us in their first language. Merhaba in Turkish and Yasu in Greek. Merhaba in Arabic, and hello for everybody who are watching us in this on live on Facebook. So first, I would like to thank the Global Bus Foundation for organizing this webinar, and a special thank to Mr. Hussein Qasras for his invitation, and thank you for our amazing moderator Asma. So as you have already seen on my first slide, the topic is about classroom management. Effective classroom management.
I'm so sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
Did you share your screen?
Yes, I shared it.
Can you guys
just a
see
minute?
it?
Okay, just a minute.
Yeah,
Because I
the
can.
sound is not clear. Yeah.
No, the screen, is it on?
Okay, just a minute. I'm going to share it again.
All right.
Maybe there's an issue. I'm going to repair it. Okay. I think my
Yes, we
screen
can
is
see
shared
it.
now, I think. Okay. Great. So this is my greeting. Yasu, Rana, and marhaba, Sibel. And hello for everybody. So thanks to Global Bus Foundation for this invitation and the organization of this amazing webinar. So as I said before, you have already seen my first slide. The topic is about effective classroom management. So let's define it first. That the classroom management are the skills and techniques teachers use to keep students organized, attentive, on task, productive during class. Sorry. It's obvious that from the early beginning of the year, teachers are responsible of organizing students according to their level, age, even size, and audiovisual abilities. These rules and techniques that the teacher use ensure that students are sitting in their seats, following directions and listening attentively. So managing and monitoring students make the teaching and learning environment better. So all the teachers tend to organize their class from the beginning in different shape. For example, shaping the classroom in differently according to the age and the target teaching point. Then I don't want to speak all about the classroom management, but I have chosen some common problems in FL classroom. That many teachers complain about some problems they face in classroom. Among these problems, this. So here are some kids who are making noise in class, and this is a big issue that makes some teachers become crazy. I'm sorry, ladies, I put the first picture of a lady, but I'm just applying the rule for ladies first. I'm sorry about that. But even
Thank you. But you should have put another one for guys. I mean, for
yeah,
male, right?
for man, if a man, if a lady gets crazy, a man gets crazier.
Well, that thank you.
Okay, so noise makes the teacher crazy and frustrated. So a teacher complained that my learners are too noisy, and of course noise creates a negative learning environment and eventually affects the learning process. uh, it hinders the teacher's students communication. The teacher and the students cannot interact. They cannot hear each other's. They cause poor concentration, no concentration. When teacher, for example, talk to students, okay, they cannot hear him. So there is no interaction. Leads a negative feedback. There is a negative feedback, and oblige teachers to raise their voices. And this is the worst when raising the voice. It means adding noise to noise. How to handle noise in classroom? So classroom management starts from the early beginning of the year, as I said. So you, they say, don't leave yourself, don't leave yourself wide open to trouble. It means you have to cure the harm before it gets worse. So control noise from the get-go, from when the students get in and when they leave. Signals your students to get quiet and address students individually. When pointing to a student to keep quiet, it means you show him that he is responsible for making for this noise and not addressing all the whole class, because nobody will feel responsible. And say things once only. So try, for the teacher, try not to repeat what you are saying, and encourage students to listen carefully and give noisy students more responsibility. And of course, in FO classroom, or in general in classes, students who are responsible for making noise, uh, generally they are repeaters, or they are older than the others, and they or sometimes stronger and in physically stronger. So they feel power in class. So they start the noise, and eventually this noise spreads over the class. And then all students are affected with this, as they call, noise virus. Be strong and don't shout. Here we say, be strong and don't shout, because shouting will never be a solution. So don't repairing harm before, so prepare harm before getting worse. So don't leave yourself wide open to trouble, and don't wrongly correct the error. So when you shout, you are wrongly correcting the errors. Another problem, which is learners speaks their first language. And this is a big problem. We face it daily. Speaking the first language in FL classroom persistently leads to lack of interaction. So the teacher speaks English and the students speak Arabic. So there is lack of interaction. Oh, not like hey, there's a mistake, like with LA and not you. I'm sorry. Inability to articulate. So the students will have an inability to articulate English. They are because they are not trained, and discouraging students to make efforts to produce English language. Fear of speaking English, because some students don't know the language, and when they are not making any efforts, they cannot learn how to speak English. So there are some solutions that the teacher may follow in order to solve this issue. Teachers should try to speak only English. Okay, speaking first language is not a crime, but it is not eventually. So to get rid of using first language in FL classroom, teachers should try to speak only English. In some cases, if necessary, teacher can use first language appropriately to avoid misunderstanding or miscommunication. Then provide students with listening and speaking skill tasks, because a good speaker is a good listener. Okay, so provide students with tasks of listening in order to make efforts to speak. Not interfere to correct mistakes. So correcting mistakes sometimes discourage the students, and they get fear of speaking because they say, oh, I'm going to speak, okay, so I'm going to make mistakes, my classmates are going to laugh, or maybe the teacher is going to get angry with me. So it's better not to speak. So this is, as I say, don't interfere students when they are speaking, to don't interfere them to correct their mistakes. In the contrary, you must encourage the teacher, encourage them to speak, even if they are making mistakes. And correction will come gradually. Establish class rules and develop a penalty system. This is a very good idea that a teacher can do it in class. They establish rules. For example, they say if a student speaks first language 2 or 3 times, he is going to be to have a penalty. So maybe, for example, he's going to sing a song. For example, I don't know. There are a lot of penalties that you can think about. The third problem that I suggest, so learners are too dependent. Many students don't make any efforts. They are dependent on the teacher to give them correct answer instead of trying themselves. Okay, either they ask the teacher to assist them, to help them, to give them the correction in completing the activity, or they don't know how to do this task. They have lack of confidence.
Yes,
They
Mr.
are
Al-Hussein.
discouraged. Yeah?
Yes, 10 minutes. You have 10 minutes left.
Okay, I will be on time. Okay, so students have lack of confidence. So when a teacher notices the students are too dependent, the teacher must focus on giving positive encouragement, which help them to be self-confident and feel more comfortable and willing to answer. As I said before, encouraging students for free communication and not correcting the mistakes at time, and to give them more confidence to produce English. accept their answers if they even if they are wrong. This is to show respect, that I respect you and I accept your answer even if it is correct. But what matter is the efforts that the student is making. Use code switching to instruct them. This is also effective to make code switching to instruct the students. Encourage them to practice taking risks and remind students to try different approaches to do something before asking for help. There are many strategies, okay, when we are blocked in front of something. So there are many strategies. For example, if I want to know the meaning of a word, so there are other strategies. For example, I look for the synonym or the opposite, or I describe it, or I need an explanation about it before I ask directly what it is in the first language, or I wait for the answer. Good. Oh, this picture shows boredom. Some students are thinking, some students are playing, others don't know what to do. So here the classroom is a mess. So learners are bored. So when learners are bored, it means there is no interest, no motivation. The teacher also feels that teaching is more difficult. There is the lack of motivation affects the learning process. When there is not motivation, some teachers feel that teaching is more difficult. They cannot transmit the message, and teachers' instructions are not clear. Sometimes when the instructions are not clear, so they cannot get the message and they cannot do any task, and they start playing or speaking to their classmates, or sometimes we find students drawing or writing other tasks for another subject. Lack of communication, and there is no communication, and of course the communication skill enables students to become more autonomous and less dependent on the teacher, okay, and encourages the students to the task, to take risks. Unsuccessful lesson planning. When the lesson plan is not well organized by the teacher that he planned, he should, for example, plan his lesson in advance, respecting the stages and using the sub skills, using authentic materials in order to motivate his learners and give a lesson, as I say, more life. To avoid boredom issues, teachers should react as quick as possible by taking decisions that things have to be changed or omitted or modified. So this is the teacher's role, and the teacher should be an artist, okay? Or as we say, the teacher is like a chameleon. He must take the color of the place where he is. So teachers should prepare a good lesson plan, respecting the stages, sub-skills to build interest, okay? Sub-skills like concept checking, using authentic materials, etc. So teacher has to be present in the classroom by encouraging, monitoring, facilitating, controlling, and assessing students. So this is the teacher's role in class, has to be present by monitoring going around the rows to see what the students are doing and interfere and sometimes helping them and facilitating the task. Teachers should create a good learning environment. A good learning environment by preparing the class, for example, a well lit and equipped classroom, and for example, a lot of things that make students interest to become happy teacher. And when you become a happy teacher, okay, students, it means that you are satisfied of what you did, okay, and you have a good product from the students, and the students will surprise you one day in class when you are getting in with, for example, on the board, it is written in bold letter, "Thank you, teacher, and thank you for your attention. Thank you very much."
Well, thank you, Mr. Hussein, for this um, amazing presentation. Let me activate my video first. All right.
Okay.
So there are a lot of questions, literally so many questions, but I only
Okay.
chose some because we can't answer all of these. So here is the first question. How can we be strict and severe and kind at the same time in the classroom?
Well, a teacher has to take into consideration the level of the students and their age and the area where the students are from, because we have got some areas where students are quiet and calm and well civilized, but other areas, uh, as we call the popular areas, okay, where students are a bit severe. So a teacher cannot be severe all the time and cannot be calm all the time. So he must divide, okay, and he must change from time to time, that when it should be severe and when I should be quiet, okay. So it is the teacher's rule to be to take this policy, okay, when to be severe.
Yes, thank you. The second question is how can teachers motivate and rise their students' confidence, especially at this time with COVID and everything? Our students got very unmotivated and very careless about their studies. How can we motivate them?
Okay, my motivation doesn't come out of the blue. So we must encourage students, okay, give them tasks inside, outside the classroom. Okay, let them choose their topics, okay, to speak about. Okay, praise them. Okay, praise them and give them some things that's from real life. Okay, for example, here I'm from Algeria, and I want my students to to write about, for example, the Eiffel Tower, which is in France. So they are not interested at all. I give them what is in their area. So, and they are they know it and they can see it and they can go there, for example. So like that, they are motivated. And when they do something, praise praise students, always praising students. Do not discourage or do not demotivate them. I think I answered your question.
Yes, you did. And finally, the last question. So you mentioned earlier that we should not correct our students' mistakes right after they make them. How can we correct those mistakes?
Okay, I'll give you an example. So I let my students finish what he is speaking about. For example, when he said, I don't know, computer, he used the word computer and he mispronounced it. Okay, I'm not going to stop him and I say, no, it is computer like this. I don't stop him. When he finishes, okay, you have got a computer at home. And what about you? And I address another student. Have you got a computer? Yes, I have or not. Okay, from that time, he is going to correct himself. And I ask him again about it, and he is going to pronounce it correctly. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, Mr. Al-Hussein. There are so many other questions that we can't answer due to the time. Ms. Sibel, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, and I already did on Facebook actually.
Yes, I lost it.
Okay, so you want me to voice it. Thank you for the great presentation. I want to ask, does it only depend on, good class management, does it only depend on a teacher's skills or also on the students, their relation, rapport, I mean? What do you think?
Here the teacher must build a rapport between the teacher and the students, okay? And even the parents also.
Yeah.
Parents, administration. Okay, they are all responsible about this classroom management, not only the teacher. And here, my presentation, I just focus on the teacher because there are some novice teacher and even experienced teacher do not know how to manage their class. That's why I focus on the teacher.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Well, thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, Mr. Hussein, for this amazing and very informative and, fabulous presentation.
Thank you very much.
So now I would like to give the floor to Ms. Islam Al-Kassimi, who is going to keep up with the moderation. And Islam, you have the floor.
Thank
you,
goodbye,
everyone. I was glad to moderate.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you very
and
much.
welcome, Islam.
Thank you, Mr. Hussein. Hello, everybody. And welcome back, all the audience and of course the speakers, to our second part of today's ELT webinar. First of all, I would love to congratulate Ms. Sibyl and Mr. Fondo for the great informative and insightful presentations they've presented. I myself learned a lot from you, and beside talking about learner autonomy and classroom management, which Mr. Fondo enlightened us about different techniques you can use in the classroom, we certainly need to move on with other speakers and with other topics, which we are going to cover today. But before that, let me just tell you about what's new with the GBF, or what are the new programs coming and we are working on as a GBF team. Beside the ELT program or project that Asmae talked about at the beginning, we are going to launch another program that we are all working on nowadays, which is the youth program. In this program, we are going to have or host teachers, coaches in specific fields that are related to empowering youth, especially teenagers, university students, talking about different topics related to them, such as time management, stress management, how we can be good students at the university, and how we can succeed in life. So yes, so now let's move to our third speaker. Our third speaker is Mr. Rahal Ajbilu. He is going to talk about a topic that we all actually suffer from, which is lost in COVID maze. Learner autonomy is your GPS. He is going to talk about learner autonomy. Yes. So before giving the floor to Mr. Rahal Ajbilu, let me first give you a little bit or talk a little bit about Mr. Rahal Ajbilu. First of all, I want just to say that 2 years ago, I've attended one of his workshops, and I was very happy and glad to learn from him. The workshop was such informative, fun, interactive. I liked the interactive part of it, and I learned a lot of techniques that I am still using right now with my students. So Rahal Jbilu is an ELT supervisor and trainer with the Moroccan Ministry of Education and a member of the National Committee for Testing and Evaluation. He received a BA degree in linguistics from Qadi Iyad University in Marrakesh, a TEFL diploma from the ENS in Rabat, a TEFL certificate from Montana State University in the USA, and an ELT supervision diploma from the National Center of Inspectors in Rabat, and a professional certificate in English language teaching, a TESOL certificate developed by the Word Learning SIT Graduate Institute. So his current research interests are testing, assessment, curriculum development, project-based learning, and active learning. As a member of some local and national organizations, he has been active in the area of community service, human rights, and associative work. His international experience includes programs such as the International Leader in Education program in the USA and Trust Women Conference, which was in 2016 in London. Without further ado, let me give the floor to Mr. Rahal Ajbilu, and you have 20 minutes.
Thank you very much, Islam, and thank you, Asma, thank you, Hussein, thank you, Global Best Foundation, for giving us the opportunity to meet such wonderful people. And I see that there is a lot of interaction and very lively interaction on the Facebook page, which is really good. So my presentation, and I would like to thank Sibel because she has paved the way to my presentation. And she has saved a lot of efforts that I'm going to do. She has made it easier for me to talk. So the title of my presentation is Lost in the COVID Maze, so Learner Autonomy is Your GPS. So that's just kind of attractive title to the presentation. The current situation we know, of course, all over the world is that COVID-19 has really and dramatically impacted the all educational system all over the world in a very, very dramatic and transformative way. So, of course, you know, that have opted for hybrid learning mode, which is a combination of in-person and online learning or remote learning, as is the case here in Morocco. So this has put teachers in a very difficult situation, and they have to reinvent themselves to deal with such situation, because we were mainly living in a very important comfort zone. Okay, we were really nice with our classes, we were good, but COVID-19 has created such a problem. So this situation, although it seems that it's really challenging, but it has created an urgent need for learner autonomy more than ever. And that's why I think that it's a really important topic to discuss. So in this presentation, we are going to look at learner autonomy, a working definition and its implications. Why learner autonomy is important, I'm going to do it very quickly. Sibyl has talked in detail about this. So some practical strategies for developing learner autonomy, and I will conclude by talking about some of the digital tools that we can use to encourage learner autonomy. So we know that learner autonomy has its theoretical foundations in a lot of things, in a lot of fields like psychology. We can talk about Vygotsky's social constructivism, Piaget, Howard Gardner's theory of multiple intelligences. Also in education, we can talk about John Dewey and his theory of experiential learning, also William Kilpatrick and his theory of project-based learning, David Kolb and his theory of experiential learning as well. It has also some philosophy or underpinning philosophy in Alan Thuth and Phil Candy and Stephen Brookfield, who talked about a lot about adult education, about lifelong learning. So learner autonomy is deeply rooted in philosophy, is deeply rooted in psychology, is deeply rooted in education. Also, when we talk about language learning approaches and theories, we are talking about learner-centeredness, about communicative language teaching, learning strategies, learning styles. All these things make the learner autonomy a necessity or an urgent must. Now, if you look at learner autonomy, of course, there are different definitions. David Little, Hollick, and others, and even Jack Richards, they defined learner autonomy in different ways. But I will try to focus on a very, as I call it, so it's a kind of working definition. It's really clear. Learner autonomy is the ability to take charge of one's learning. So it's for learners to take responsibility for their own learning. They should, of course, do it deliberately, which means they need to do it, which means they are eager to learn autonomously. And also, it's something which is not innate, inborn. It can be acquired by training, by systematic training. And that's what we call learner training in general. Of course, to take charge of one's learning is to have the responsibility for all the decisions, and that's what learner autonomy is about. So implications of this definition. So there are three basic principles for learner autonomy. The first one is that learners take control of their own learning. And number two is that they need to develop skills and strategies for learning, or what we call learning to learn. They also need to reflect and evaluate. So three things: involvement, learner training, and reflection and evaluation. So we'll try to look how we are going to achieve these things. As Sibel said, learner autonomy is not, or doesn't necessarily mean that teachers or learners are going to learn without a teacher, because the most important element in learner autonomy is the teacher, through his guidance, through his scaffolding, and so on and so forth. Learners do not work entirely alone. Learner autonomy necessitates collaborative learning, cooperative learning strategies. Why is learner autonomy important? Sibel has talked about this: efficiency, effectiveness, motivation, confidence, self-esteem. All these things have been dealt with before. So if we said that learner autonomy covers three main areas: learner involvement, learning strategies, and reflection. So how can we develop learner autonomy through the different of these areas? Let's start with learner involvement. How can we involve learners? The first thing when we talk about involving learners is helping, and this is really crucial in learner autonomy, is to help learners set learning goals. And there was a question in one of the previous presentations about how can we help learners, how can we involve learners in setting goals? Yes, we need to do, and we should do, because of course, sometimes you are teaching a reading lesson or a listening lesson or a speaking activity, and you want students as a follow-up to do something, to write, to read, or to speak. They should know why. Why do they want to use that activity? Is it of use to them, or is it useless? Another thing is the input. We should vary the input and providing students with what we call the menu lessons. As if you are in a restaurant, you provide a menu for your students and they choose what they want. They choose what they like, what they want to learn. And this is one of the prerequisites. This is one of the most important things of learner autonomy. Another thing is the output. Imagine that we have just finished a reading activity as in a follow-up. We want students to speak about something. So, or to do a follow-up activity, or to do a post-reading activity. So we can give students the choice to choose the kind of output or outcome they want to deliver. Is it a song, or acting a story, or writing a diary? This is what we mean by learner autonomy. Also, we need to provide students with opportunities for interaction. And we need to vary our techniques or teaching techniques and activities so as to cater for different needs, as we said before. Now, the first point was about how to develop involvement. Now, how to develop learning strategies, which is one of the basic principles of learner autonomy. We differentiate here between different types of strategies. The first type is what you call cognitive strategies, which means techniques or actions that learners use to foster their own learning and understanding. These are some of the activities that most teachers do and use. The first one, this is just an example. There is a very big number of activities. There are numbers of which we can say even unlimited number of activities that we can do. One of them, chants, flashcards, word walls, graphic organizers, mnemonic devices, note-taking, highlighting. All these are cognitive activities that help learners to develop the sense of learner autonomy or learner independence. So when we say, for example, graphic organizers, we can use them in writing, we can use them in listening, we can use them in speaking, and they give even in vocabulary learning, they give the students the ability to learn autonomously by his own, and also to develop his skills. Highlighting while reading, doing a reading activity, we can teach the students this strategy, which is really important, highlighting important main ideas or words they don't know. And also we can use the reading logs while reading a text. The students is interacting with the text using different codes. Like, for example, I don't understand this idea. I'm going to put a question mark on that idea. This idea is not, I don't agree with this idea. So I can, on the spot, say that this is questionable. I don't agree with that. And this is what we mean by learner autonomy in reading. So here, if you look here, this is an example of an activity that all teachers do to foster learner autonomy in writing. And that's a writing correction code that we use either in self-correction or in peer correction. We give students or just we write it on the board, okay, a list like this, and we ask them to correct their own writings or written production by themselves using the code. So is this singular or plural, the wrong word order, tense, and so on and so forth. Another example, of course, that we can do in correcting or in self-editing written work is the common mistakes chart. So normally we know that students in general, they make common mistakes like the third person S. So we give students a chart like this, say my common mistake, third person singular, he liked, she wants. And this is what I have written, and this is what should be written. And in this way, we help them to correct themselves by themselves. Another type of strategies that we need to develop is what you call the metacognitive strategies. It refers very simply to the methods used to help students understand the way they learn, which means they need to think about their own thinking. For example, I am as a language learner, how do I learn? What's my learning style? What's my intelligence? What type of intelligence do I have? And students need to be aware of these things. Three areas which can cover the metacognitive strategies are multiple intelligence, and you know the theory of Howard Gardner and his version of the 8 intelligences, their preferences and their learning styles. And this is something that we need to train learners, to train students into. Of course, here there are examples of multiple intelligence, like bodily, musical, visual, intrapersonal, imagine that we have, and it's sure, we have our classes, we have different profiles of different learners. So sometimes when you are using, for example, a role play, and only a role play, you are favoring interpersonal students with interpersonal intelligence. But when you are doing, for example, something else like using a song or using, for example, graphic organizer, you are catering for other intelligences like musical or bodily or this or this. Also, when we talk about the different learning styles, we know that there are 4 main learning styles. There are different models, of course, in literature, but these are the main ones: the visual, auditory, read and write, or kinesthetic. Most of the time in many schools and even in many course books, international course books, they assess students to know their major learning style, and they call them the VARC. They call them the VARC test. So they give you a set of questions to know whether you are visual or auditory or kinesthetic or read and write. Of course, most learners have more than one learning style, and most learners have more than one intelligence, but at least we need to know that our students have different learning styles and different intelligences, and we need to train them on how to do it by providing activities.
Yes, I think there is a problem in the sound. Mr. Ajbilo, can you hear me?
I think it's a connection problem because it's frozen, the screen.
Yeah, it's frozen. We hope. Yes. Is it still in the participants? Yes.
Huh.
Hello. Yes, is he back again? Mr. Ajbilo, can you hear me? Yes, he's starting to share his screen.
Yeah.
Hello. Yes, is he back again? Mr. Ajbilo, can you hear me? Yes, he's starting to share his screen.
Can you please activate your mic? Thank you, Mr. Rahal.
Can you hear me? Can you see my presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe, I don't know, maybe it's an internet connection problem. Anyway, I was just about to talk about the other type of strategies, and
I think that Mr. Rahal Ajbilo has a problem with the internet connection. Yes. Mr. Rahal, would you please try to check with your internet connection?
Yes, I think so.
Okay, while waiting for Mr. Rahal to join us, I suggest, okay, let me check.
All right, yeah, but Mr. Rahal was talking about a very interesting.
Okay, so while waiting for Mr. Rahal to rejoin us again, probably let's give the chance to other speakers, I mean the previous speakers. If you still have any other question you want to ask Ms. Sibyl or Mr. Fondou, that would be great. So Mr. Rahal was talking about learner autonomy and how we can foster autonomy in this globalized teaching and online learning. Yes, we have many.
And it's a very interesting topic.
Page.
Yes, that Mr. Ajbilo has been talking about. the same Sibyl Caesar tackled a very interesting topic about learn autonomy. And since today, it becomes a must for Islam.
Islam, I think Hussein also has the same problem because his screen is frozen as well. Can you see him move? Move? Ah, okay, he's back.
Yes, so as we said, Mr. Jbilu has been talking about a very interesting topic, Ms. Sibyl Caesar about learn autonomy. And as I told you, it becomes a must today because we don't know, from time to time we have to switch and move to online education or online classes. So it's good to equip our learners on how to be dependent, depending on themselves. So self-dependence, because COVID-19 shows something very interesting, which is education is not all the time about the teacher teaching, but the students can teach himself or can teach himself as well. All right, I guess Islam Qasimi, because Mr. Hal has a problem, so we can move to our next speaker, Rania Lampu. Islam, what do you think?
Yes, I agree with you. We have to move to our next speaker. Let me welcome Ms. Rania Lampu. She's from Greece. She's going to talk about some innovative projects combining STEM and foreign language. Actually, she is a STEM, meaning science, technology, engineering, and mathematics instructor, and an ICT teacher trainer in Greece. She's currently working at the Greek Ministry of Education, at the Directorate of Educational Technology and Innovation, and she has been awarded many national and international prizes, like about 30, and she's a Global Teacher Prize finalist in 2019. Yay! The Varkey Foundation, that's a great thing, and the Global Teacher Award in 2020 winner. Please give her an applaud. She promotes STEM vision by introducing STEM as an astronomy and physics projects and combines STEM with language teaching. She's also a passionate researcher on cognitive psychology and cognitive neurosciences. She has a postgraduate degree, an MD, in language teaching related to cognitive neurosciences. She's an editorial board member of the International Journal of Advanced Study and Research Work and an international editor and coordinator of the Deliberative Research Journal. She's the founder of the international coordinator of 4 innovative professional projects that focus on the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals described in the 2030 Agenda. She is also an author of so many scientific books for kids. So she has this rich career. I am looking forward to learn from her. So let's welcome her and give her the floor. Go ahead.
Greetings from Greece to all participants and to all distinguished speakers today. I warmly thank Global Bus Foundation for the kind invitation to be a part today of this enriching and resourceful webinar. My name is Rania Lampu. I'm a STEM instructor and an ICT trainer, and I'm also a French language teacher. Today we will explore the new digital education landscape as it is shaped by the new normal concerning, of course, language teaching. I will also suggest some effective teaching strategies based on cognitive neurosciences and neuroeducation. And I will present some of my innovative multi-award winning projects. Can I share my presentation?
Yes, of course.
So COVID has immediately altered the ways in which we live, we work, and we interact, and the ability to adapt, engage, and inspire through a crisis more important than ever before. The sudden and unprecedented shattering of schools due to the COVID pandemic forced educators to face the most rapid change of perhaps any profession in history. Within a moment's notice, teachers were asked to leave their classrooms indefinitely and in many cases to recreate a virtual learning environment. However, I strongly believe that this crisis could be a great resetter of economies, societies, and education, an opportunity to bring forward long-awaited reforms for the development of the education community with digital skills. So the COVID pandemic aroused the need for optimizing the roles of teachers, since teachers are the agents of change in education. The fourth industrial revolution has equipped societies with powerful tools. Some countries have managed to leverage these tools in order to win the fight in the COVID era. However, in states that have no technological infrastructures, leadership has emerged as a vital tool, and teachers were forced to follow the eminent words of the American President Theodore Roosevelt, who said that doing what they can with what they have. That means that where our teachers do not have technology resources to combat this threat, they must have the heart, brain, and soul. Therefore, countries that were unable to immediately leverage the capabilities of the fourth industrial revolution must turn to strategic action. Our current reality calls for responsible leadership. And during the COVID pandemic, teachers wanted to say that, to highlight the fact that we are not anymore unsung heroes. We became celebrated heroes and real leaders. And we should not forget the fact that real heroes are not born, they are forged in crisis, and they are those who inspire people through difficult times. So we are standing at the threshold now of the fifth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution has changed the landscape of educational innovation. With the Internet of Things, for artificial intelligence, has brought in better communication and connectivity across the globe. Education based on the fourth industrial revolution focuses on educational development, mostly in skills, and has made future learning more customized, more hyper, intelligent, portable, challenging, worldwide, and virtual. However, the advance of the fourth industrial revolution, as well as the previous revolutions, have highlighted the fact that the human factor was ignored by technology and has left an element of dehumanization. So the fifth industrial revolution brings the focus back to humanity. It's high time to embrace humanity. Humans and machines will dance together. And there's a need of a responsive 21st century connection of technology to purpose and inclusivity. So the fourth industrial revolution leverages the potential of digital technologies, personalized data, open sources, contents, and the globally connected world of humanity, and establishes lifelong learning. The rapid growth of technological innovations and industries brings great impacts of foreign language teaching also. Within this framework, learning a foreign language can act as a powerful tool to enhance global cooperation, to increase intercultural skills, and discover new and innovative ways of thinking and working together. Education in the fourth industrial revolution focuses on education development. During the pandemic, there was a surge in interest in language learning, and language learning has emerged as a phenomenon of the current social distancing. Popular language learning apps have claimed increased the usage of more than 200%, while others are reporting new sales up more than 50%. According to data from the Organization for Economic Development, Teaching and Learning, and the National Survey of Teachers, provide some insights into how the coronavirus crisis could be affecting foreign language teachers. So according to this survey, foreign language teachers are more likely to have been abroad for professional reasons than other teachers. In addition to learning languages abroad, foreign language teachers often study in other countries as part of their training, or teach abroad and play an important role in accompanying visiting students abroad. Foreign language teachers are also more likely than other teachers to use technology in their classrooms and as part of their lessons. By integrating technology in their teaching, foreign language teachers can continue to play a key role in connecting students to schools of other language communities, which is an important task at this moment. So this research also showed that language teachers, in comparison to other teachers, can contribute to to their schools in unique ways. Why? Because they feel better prepared to undertake international mobility and to act as international ambassadors of their schools. The experience and know-how of the average foreign language teacher can become an asset for schools searching for ways to keep connected and maintain education continuity, especially during the crisis. However, international restrictions during the pandemic make the development of these international professional experiences very difficult. So the crisis showed a need for change in the field of language teaching, a need for change in learning and teaching. The post-COVID era requires language teachers to develop special skills in order to survive and thrive in the uncertain world of the new normal. What are the three essential skills we need to have as teachers and students? Flexibility, adaptability, and resilience are necessary survival skills. Adaptable teacher is a teacher who is able or willing to change in order to face different conditions. A flexible teacher can do this easily. A resilient teacher is able to recover quickly from difficult or unexpected conditions. The post-experience urges language teachers to be more adaptable towards technological advancement and be able to use it, as well as to build a lifelong learning, since it helps students facing and adapting to future changes. Language teachers must have more access to technology-oriented professional development and be able to teach and share knowledge through current ICT and social media. Of course, technology skills include content that is based on developing digital skills, including programming, digital responsibility, and the use of technology. Of course, we can talk about self-directed, personalized, and self-paced learning. However, digital learning process in the post-COVID era demands a curriculum redesign, of course, blended learning and lifelong learning. Long-standing literacies covering reading and writing are not sufficient anymore for living in this society. New literacies are needed to face the new era. Data literacy, that means that students are expected to have the capabilities of reading, analyzing, and utilizing information, what we call big data, in the digital world. Students should also have technological literacy and understand how machine work and technological applications such as coding or artificial intelligence. And above all is the human literacy. Why? Because human literacy it is important to survive and to function as human beings. Here, we should highlight the role of teachers, because teachers are expected to adopt appropriate roles, multiple roles. A teacher is now a mentor, is an input provider, a facilitator, an advisor, a prompter, a guider, a storyteller, an evaluator. And the most important role, of course, of teachers is interaction. Why? Because interaction is the core of communication, since it covers collaborative exchange of thoughts, feelings, and ideas. Within the framework of foreign language teaching, teachers have to develop interactive forms of pedagogy and focus on multiple disciplines, what we call interdisciplinarity, and cultural perspectives in order to cultivate students' capacity and skills, as well as their language proficiency. They should.
Sorry to interrupt you, Ms. Lampu. You still have 10 minutes.
Oh, okay. Innovation, creative skills are also very important. So during remote and online learning, teachers can grasp the opportunity to teach language in new innovative ways. For instance, teachers can provide rich input by practicing storytelling. Studies show that students learn more effectively by listening to stories told to them by their teachers than from traditional study. Listening creates a path to reading, which is a key for input for language acquisition. Teachers can encourage also students to read for pleasure. Self-selected pleasure reading is a source of most of our vocabulary, grammar, spelling, the ability to write with an acceptable writing style. According also to a recent research, during the pandemic, language students found new ways to practice, and they were motivated to learn language through watching foreign language television programs. So students learn new words and phrases through watching television, and the amount of learning may be similar to what is learned through reading. Teachers also must be capable of developing learning activities which require students to practice a lot their oral skill and their public speaking skills through a variety of activities. So how we can develop an online learning plan? An online learning plan covers techniques, strategies, communication, rule, devices, solutions, and policies supporting online or blended learning in the school community. We should also take into consideration some strategies, such as guarantee access to internet availability of computers, laptops, or tablets, adopt a proper virtual learning environment, rethink the role of broadcasting education, improve availability of learning technology for students with disabilities or special needs, support, of course, the role of teachers and support parents also. Which are the easiest activities to set up and find resources for? Content production, collaborative writing, multimedia presentations are very important, quizzes, polls and surveys, game simulation, video chatting and conferences. It is a wide variety of free digital tools, apps, and learning management platforms that we can leverage and use with our students in order to create online games, videos, comic strips, mind maps, blogs, etc. Mobile learning also is important with the 4Cs framework: content, providing media, compute, taking data from the learner and processing it, capture, taking in data from sensors, and communicate, connecting learners with others. We can also make use of exhibiting apps like Art Steps, which is an app for virtual galleries, for creating virtual galleries, virtual conferences, or festivals. Social media, we must be, of course, careful about social media, but there are, like at Moto, some social media which are education-based. Media repositories, we can also use open source repositories. And what I need to say here, that there is no one best technology that must be implemented to online learning. To ensure the effectiveness, there are no recipes. To ensure the effectiveness of the learning process and also make sure the students reap maximum benefits of technologies, we need to adopt an eclectic or a mixed model. So we need to combine new technologies and main technologies at the same time. How we can ensure students are not advantaged? How we can monitor the access to devices appropriate for online learning, internet access, time zone friendly schedules, effective feedback opportunities for independent learning, and meaningful screen time and conferencing. How can teachers authenticate work that is being completely remotely? They can have a very clear policy on how to submit work online, create more assignments, collaborative assignments, create questions and inquiries that require learners to embed their personal experiences and context, and create—
Ms. Lampo, I think you have to, yeah?
Yes,
Ms. Lampo,
yes.
I think you have to wrap up. You have 3 minutes left.
Okay, what I want to say as a neuroeducation researcher here, that we need to adopt some effective strategies based on neuroeducation. We need to create positive emotions. Why? Because a COVID crisis took an emotional toll on children. We need to make learning pleasant. Because learning is reinforced by challenge and inhibited by threat. We need to develop social skills also because our brain is social. It needs others for interaction. We need to develop self-awareness, create a safe environment, and adopt appropriate methodology. Here I want to say, show you a one-step project and lesson plan in foreign language teaching, which is called Stein's Says No to Bullying. This lesson plan has already been implemented in many foreign language centers in Greece. The teacher demonstrates in classroom how to create a battery made of lemons. Students experiment with different materials and conditionals in foreign language. So we have a physics experiment, which is combined with grammar, English grammar, children formulate questions like this in the worksheet. If I use a safety pin, will the bulb light up? And at the same time, they do the physics experiment. At the same time, they do the question, the English conditionals, and at the same time, they perform the physics experiment. At the third part integrated art projects encourage students to be creative. In the lemon battery, we chose to use 1 green lemon and 5 yellow oranges in order to symbolize the phenomenon of bullying that the green lemon is subjected to. We also created many cards describe the situation of both bullying and teasing. Here we can see that we should adopt transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary approaches because learning is holistic, and we need also to encourage students to develop their creativity and their imagination. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ms. Rania Lampo, for the great presentation. We certainly learned a lot of new things, new concepts, new ways, new techniques from you, our great educator and teacher. For now, we have some good comments for you in the Facebook page. So many people, they are thanking you for the presentation and saying it was great and successful. I have a question actually from, I don't remember the name. So he said, or she says, because the name doesn't give if it's a female or male, they say, how can teachers enhance learners' interaction in online learning?
Here I want to say that more or less teachers have embraced online learning. They're more or less familiarized with online learning. The problem is how to help students handle the mental health disorders, because according to recent research, students are suffering from anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress, etc. I want to say here that social distancing is only physical distancing. There are plenty of occasions to develop also interactivity through online learning. How? Through collaborative platforms, through chats. There are bulletin boards also, and through our activities. Our activities, teachers can design activities that include the interaction. It's up to teachers how to handle this. But in any case, at this time, students need to interact because of mental health disorders. This is very, very important. I think that our platforms are collaborative and enable the task of teachers.
Yes, I think it was a clear answer. Yes. Let me check if we have any other questions to Ms. Rana. I think your presentation was informative and it was clear that all our audience, they understood everything. They have no question for you. I congratulate you for this great presentation, and you are welcome to Morocco after this COVID-19. Of course, you can come anytime. You are welcome. And thank you so much for today's presentation. Before finishing today's webinar,